Hello and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. Today is Monday, September 1st, 2025, and I'm Ward Ahmed.
And I'm Richard Fitzgerald, and we've got a packed show for you today.
Firstly, we're going to discuss how the Trump administration is considering a great trust plan for Gaza redevelopment. There's a lot of numbers involved here. YC-backed Munify has raised $3 million to make sending money home easier for Egyptians. And the Saudi burger chain Hamburgini has declared bankruptcy after a food poisoning scandal. And finally, UAE's Sidara to acquire UK's Wood Group in a $290 million deal. First of all, Rich, happy 10 years today. Love in Dubai just turned 10 years today, guys. It's September 1st. How are you feeling?
We put, it was the age when websites were a big deal and we push live, you push live on a button at 6 p.m. on the 1st of September 2015 in Media One Hotel. With like 3-4 people. There wasn't a big party. It was just like, let's do the launch date on the 1st of September, So we pushed live on that date and it's 10 years.
That's so crazy.
Time flies. The website is still alive. There's still loveindubai.com. There's still articles. There's still a website. And the brand has grown a lot. Yeah, and we've expanded. Obviously, this is a business channel under Smashi and things have grown a lot, but it's quite reminiscent. There's a lot of other brands in UAE who are celebrating 10 years, Just Life, InstaShop and a few others. So it's nice to see around the city. Salt also did their 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought maybe they were a year before, but they think they did a burger giveaway at the start of the year for 10 years. Yeah, I don't know, there was something in the water that year, but there's
2015?
There's a few sort of, I remember we were in Astrolabs and JLT, that sort of incubator, for want of better words, and you had that feeling that there was a lot of companies around us. I remember Fresha were there, Deliveroo used the office until they sort of had more space. They started there, and there was others that sort of grew out of Money Now. The Astrolabs people will know more, but especially that sort of 10-year milestone of Love in Dubai. Time flies, and we're in a country, in a region, an emerging market. We always talk about it, obviously, on Smashi. But whether it's inspiring or not, but you do acknowledge these milestones, and you do look at the anniversaries,
Yeah.
If a big bank does a 50-year anniversary, it has to start somewhere. I remember being at, I think, a 50-year event for Landmark Group last year, and it was quite amazing seeing old buildings in Kuwait 20, 30 years ago on a museum or walk through the history and the important people and the milestones. But our team have done an amazing job on the Love in Dubai website. It's called Love in 10. If you go /, you can watch through the years, really reminisce back on all those years of the city. So it's really nice. And we're having a community awards event just for 2025 in Dubai next Thursday, I should say, the 11th in Al Circal in Concrete. We'll have over 400 people there. It's quite exciting. There's been 15,000 votes award. I would say who knew communities were big, but they are. It's the year of community in Dubai, and it's quite big. But back to the sort of point about starting things, and we all grow up at times where we think things were there forever, but they have to start somewhere. I support a football club that's 150 years old this year. But then I see that there's clubs in Dubai and in the region, there's clubs in Dubai like Gulf United or FC United or whatever, and they're 5 years old, right? And then there's teams in Saudi who are 50, 60 years old, right? But they kind of have to start somewhere, and there's lots of iterations of these clubs. There's successes, there's non-successes, and there's periods of ups and downs, and that's the journey of life, I guess. It's also the journey of businesses.
Yeah, and I think with media especially, when you look at so many media companies that have been around for over 100 years, I feel like the more time goes, the better it gets. I really do think so. I feel like with launching media companies especially, I don't think people should expect it to get better after 3 months or even a year. And I think, the fact that Love in Dubai is standing today after 10 years, and it's so big, I think that's a testament to how amazing the team that we have is. But just to get into our news stories of the day, first up, A Washington Post exclusive has revealed that Trump's team is weighing the controversial Great Trust Plan to redevelop Gaza. Over 2 million Palestinians could face voluntary relocation as the U.S.-run trusteeship aims to turn Gaza into a high-tech hub and luxury tourism riviera featuring 8 AI-powered smart cities. That sounds so dystopian.
Yeah, so the 38-page prospectus, imagine they have a prospectus on this, offers Palestinians $5,000 each to leave, plus 4 years rent subsidies and a year of food. Landowners would receive digital tokens redeemable abroad or for apartments in AI-powered cities. Those remaining would live in secure zones at $23,000 more per person than relocation.
So they're basically telling us that if a Palestinian doesn't take the $5,000 to leave, they have to pay $23,000 to stay. So the trust does not rely on donations, the plan says. Instead, it relies on public and private investment in mega projects, including electric vehicle plants, data centers, high-rise waterfront apartments, and luxury resorts. Roads, a new airport, and desalination plants are also included to anchor the investment vision.
Yeah, so financial modeling by BCG, Boston Consulting Group, initially projected a fourfold return on $100 billion within a decade. BCG later disavowed the work and fired 2 senior partners behind it. Investors will also leverage 30% of Gaza's public land as collateral for private and sovereign wealth fund.
I think with this, with this entire story, Richard, other than the fact that it's just completely disappointing, it's completely disrespectful, it's completely wrong, I think it just really speaks to Trump. I think that this is a really opportunistic person that we're seeing. We saw how, when he was coming to the Middle East, I believe from May 13th to May 16th, in May 14th, I will never forget writing that story. Basically, he had signed with Qatari Diyar and Dar Global to bring the Trump-branded golf courses to Qatar. And obviously, that's a big foreign trip for America. That's a big trip for him. But what does he always do? He manages to link his presidency to his own business deals. And we also see it, like recently, he was in Scotland. He opened another golf course, and Hussein Sajwani was there. And I think that this is just someone really opportunistic. I think that there's no humanity behind all of it. I still don't believe in that speech that he did in front of Crown Prince Salman when he came about what's wrong with Gaza. I just think that this is someone exploitative and opportunistic and is always just trying to get the better end of the bargain.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's right to sort of outline and to show the detail that's gone into this. I think I'll just tell an anecdote. I acted in a play once in school. It was called The Field.
Yeah.
And it's a very famous Irish production. And it's a narrative. It's a story about a landowner in the west of Ireland, and someone tried to sell his field from UK or whatever, and there was auctions and it was rigged, and he was trying to sell his farming field. That was it. So the whole story is about how the farmer wants to hold on to his plot of land, right? Like everywhere around the world, there's disputes about plot of land, but it relates to the fact that Irish people had their land taken from them over the years, and this and that, right? I think I'm bringing it up because you can't get away from the feelings, the emotion, the geographical history here, the genocide that's currently taking place. You can't just sort of get away from it and think that this is going to work. What you could do is what Ireland did, which is became a republic, had independent governance and leadership, and then built a financial district and a hub that now has headquarters under Irish leadership, under Irish government, with favourable corporate tax, that has 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 employees of Google, Meta, all these things. They call it Silicon Docks Ward. It's in the Docklands in Dublin. It's refurbished old area, and it's called Silicon Docks. And many people in the region will know of Dublin and Ireland, and they will work with many of these tech companies. And it's not just the big ones, there's so many. Ireland actually did what most of Europe is envious of. When we're paying PPC Google ads, we're invoiced out of Dublin, not out of Silicon Valley. For the Middle East, there are many Arabs that I know, Jordanians, Lebanese, who do stints in Dublin to serve this region out of the Dublin office to manage the Arab accounts. So that's what you really have to do. You know, what you really have to do is establish two states, let Palestinians govern themselves, and let them build their own cities. That's really what should happen. Inshallah, one day it will happen. But even if you do that, it's hard to pull these things off, right? Like, it takes time. Like we saw a nice article in the FT over the weekend about how King Abdallah Financial District is booming. They compared it with Canary Wharf. At one time, Canary Wharf in the UK was sort of very quiet. I remember I lived in London around 2010, 2012, and it still had to sort of take off a bit. But there was periods 10 years before where it was very quiet. And then it sort of took off, where all the private wealth management, like Citibank, they all had their headquarters. It was a bustling area. And this is happening in Riyadh at the moment. But it takes time, it takes vision, and it takes leadership and stability to put in place. So, I think there's the matter-of-fact things about building cities. Like, look at Dubai. Look how it takes steady leadership, steady regulation, whether you're talking about the property sector, whether you're talking about the crypto blockchain sector, whether you're talking about AI regulation or social media networks. We also crossed the milestone in Dubai this last week where we crossed over to 4 million people in a city that was, when I moved here almost 15 years ago, it was 2.3 million people. So that's fascinating, right? But it's because of this leadership, it's because of this vision, and that different sectors can grow. But I think what Trump did say in that speech as well is that he said, it's a testament that when we got out of your way, what Arabs could do when they led themselves. And, so I think what's really the thing to be inspired by isn't one individual who's running a country. I think he's got 2 years left on his contract, on his CV, in his current vocation, in his current employment, and there'll be election coming in. So this isn't someone who's building a city in the Middle East, right? This is someone who's got a fixed term contract, there's an election soon. In terms of timelines, right? Like we get caught up in like who's powerful, who's leading things, but the things pass, things go, and I also, inspired by Estonia. I remember doing an event there and seeing they have the highest per capita tech employees or something like that in Europe. They do really well, and it's a small place, right? And I think places like Jordan, Amman, Palestine, Syria can look at these examples in Europe. Ireland and Estonia are never going to be Germany and France, and they're never going to be the biggest economies. But you can find pockets of successes through good leadership, good governance, and there's successes out of Africa as well. There's some countries that are doing really well there. Much to many people's surprises, right? Like we covered Africa a lot on Smashi Business last week with Zambia and Angola and places like that. But there's a lot of examples of where good leadership, good foresight, sort of over 10, 15, 20 years that you can put in place something that can revive economies. But yeah, in terms of this actual plan and the emotions and the ethics and the international law elements that go into it, this is obviously a long way from a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Moving to our next topic, so former Microsoft and Uber engineer Khalid Shmawi has raised $3 million for Munify, a Y Combinator-backed neobank aimed at helping Egyptians abroad send money home faster and cheaper. So the platform also provides U.S. banking access for residents in Egypt and other Middle Eastern markets.
Well done to him. Yeah, so Ashmawi's idea stems from personal experience. He used to send $400 wire from Europe at a cost of $40, so 10% fees, back to Egypt, and it took 3 days. Munify, very like Monify, Gabe Suarez's media company, but spelled M-U-N-I-F-Y as opposed to M-O-N-I-F-Y, now allows instant transfers with lower fees targeting Egyptians in the US, UK, Europe, and the Gulf, while also serving freelancers, remote workers, and businesses.
So Munify recently launched and already sees early adoption with thousands of signups. The startup has contracts with mid-sized companies and enterprises projecting over $50 million in monthly cross-border transaction volume through its dual consumer and business model, so combining remittance and banking services.
The platform builds on its own rails to connect banking systems across countries. Revenue comes from FX spreads, interchange, and payment flows. Ashmawi's previously founded Husby, MENA PropTech platform, leveraging experience at Microsoft and Uber to tackle the entrenched financial pain point.
Oh, man, I need this in Sudan. I really need Munify in Sudan. Do you know how hard it is to send money?
Yeah.
It's kind of like our worst nightmare for all of us when you have charity, you want to give it out, but like how are you going to get the money to these people?
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
it's already hard to travel to Sudan, take a holiday in Sudan, and it's even harder to send money. So when I take a look at this, I think that it's always these kind of businesses that succeed, honestly. Like seeing a kind of struggle that people are having and looking after it, I think is something so important. And I'm noticing that a lot of Egyptian founders are doing this lately. You know, we're seeing it with Breadfast. We're seeing it with that website, the website generator that recently launched. Do you remember the name, Rich?
Yeah.
It starts with a W. I remember it.
Oh,
but-
Wilt, like
Yes,
Wilt.
Wilt.
Yeah,
Wilt
yeah.
recently launched because they want to help people build Arabic websites, and you know we're seeing how Breadfast is booming. They're already at a $380 million valuation. Swivel did kind of take a little drop, but in the end of the day, they did provide services that people in Egypt needed. I think for me, I know I always speak about the employees underground. I'm not looking at the founders, but that's really all that matters. Like we all have a kind of struggle that we go through. So to have someone come and solve that, I think is so important.
Where's he based? Where's Khaled based?
I believe that he's based in Egypt. He studied in Egypt computer science, and then he went abroad, and that's where he worked at Uber and Microsoft. And I think for me, Rich, like this story really touches my heart because it's the fact that he chose not to stay in Europe. He didn't stay there. He didn't decide to add on to their wealth. You know, he came back home and he decided to build something that could benefit all of us.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that $30 billion a year goes into Egypt?
Goes into what?
Remittance, so it's sent into the country from abroad.
Right,
30 billion. Like the example given is his $400. But yeah, you're right. Like there's a lot of diaspora. There's a lot of, we talk about foreign direct investment, but there's a lot of money that transfers. Good sort of before fintech, companies, Al Ansari Exchange and Western Union, out of the UAE, people would move money places. Like remittance is obviously huge, especially when you have, international workers overseas and many things like that. But yeah, I love it. I love the example. I think, I didn't realize he was the founder of Hubsy as well. I wonder where he was based when he did that and whether there was an Egyptian link. But it's great to see this ingenuity, this innovation. We've had a lot of fintech money investments in Egypt, from Fawi to Halan to others. There's a lot of fintech stars coming up from Egypt as well. There's been a few more, right? There's Thunder, obviously the capital market investment app, but there's across the fintech ecosystem, there's some good payment gateways examples there as well. So yeah, more power to them on remittance. I don't think it's an easy one to figure out cross borders and things like that. Like, compliance, like we talked last week about HSBC and in Lebanon, and we talked about the financial world and the compliances that's needed.
Having an ethics council.
Yeah, and ethics, and also but fintech brings up a lot of solutions to problems, but it's not a zero sum game. It doesn't replace credit cards. It doesn't replace banks. It just adds to it, and there's a lot of partnerships involved. We see a lot of success lately with Weo Bank in the UAE, backed by the credible Abu Dhabi-based banks and others. We also see success with Alan, that card expenses app that's doing really well. There's a lot of examples of fintech. I think fintech in the region, when you're talking about 22 countries, 400 million people or so across the previous Arab League, like there's a lot of emerging sort of merchants. There's a lot of solutions to solve there, so it's fascinating.
There are, but just, on that topic of compliance, this brings us to our next story. Hamburgini, one of Saudi Arabia's most popular homegrown burger chains, has filed for bankruptcy. Now, this was following a food poisoning outbreak that destroyed its reputation. Kind of sounds like what happened to Bleban. Now, the commercial court in Riyadh ordered liquidation of Asiyat Al-Ghaitha Trading Company, its parent company, with creditors given 90 days to submit claims. Now founded in 2013 in Riyadh, Hamburgini quickly became a favorite among Saudi youth, expanding aggressively on social media between 2015 and 2019. Now the chain grew to 57 outlets, including nearly 30 in the capital, with additional branches in Jeddah, the eastern province, Qasim, and Hale.
So the company's rapid growth came to a halt in 2024 when more than 70 customers fell ill and one person died, Allah yarhamu, after eating at a Riyadh branch. Investigations traced the outbreak to contaminated mayonnaise imported under the brand Bontum, and which contained the deadly Clostridium botulinum bacterium. Sorry about that.
So authorities swiftly shut down Hamburgini's Riyadh outlets, halted the nationwide distribution of the mayonnaise, and closed the supplier's factory. So despite the supplier being responsible, the chain faced immediate losses as consumer trust evaporated and sales plummeted. I think when you take a look at this entire topic, I think that this is definitely an operations problem here.
Yeah.
It definitely is. It was one. You're telling me that one specific brand of mayonnaise caused 70 people to become ill, and if there's 70 people who are ill, like I don't understand why they can't read the room. Like, connect the dots very quickly that maybe something is wrong here. We have an ingredient that is not going well. I think for me, like, I'm so passionate about compliance with food because there is nothing worse in this world than food poisoning. There seriously is not. And they even said that one person died. I mean, that is actually an absolute catastrophe. In Rich, they have 50 stores. So imagine them going bankrupt. Those 50 stores with like about probably a good 70 employees per store, like where are they all gonna go?
Yeah.
I think that, these things are so unfortunate for the young people working there, but even more so than that. Honestly, I'm happy about it. Anything that causes people food poisoning, take it away. Take it away from us.
There's so many layers to this. It's so interesting. I mean, on a consumer level, I
Yeah.
remember being in Riyadh last January when it happened, and the guys they were afraid to eat any burger. They were like, I'm not eating burgers anymore. Like, because Hamburgini, it was obviously related to that chain, but people just thought burgers, and people were like, uh-oh. And then people were sort of afraid to talk about it because you thought, am I talking about a burger chain? Is it
Yeah.
defamation? You know, I'm going to link two interesting stories over the weekend to do with this. One is Mohammed Al-Abar has Americana Group, and he has KFC and other chains. And he
Yeah.
says there's lots of exciting brands in the region that can take their place. And he's right, but Hamburgini's gone bust. Now, what was really interesting is that a well-known chain in Saudi called shawarma, it's kind of spelled differently. Obviously, it's a shawarma chain, but it's a well-known one. It's a logo and it's a shawarma. And anyway, they had an incident, and Turki al-Sheikh came on X, and many other prominent Saudis said, okay, but don't cancel them. Don't shut them down. They didn't mention Hamburgini, but they're like, this is a Saudi story. It's 25 years. Yes, they make mistakes, and they've had an issue, and the regulator has caught them or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're going to fix it. Because the history of F&B is about cleanliness and hygiene and regulation, and there's a whole thing that goes in there, right? You're right that maybe they should have gone bust and maybe they should be bankrupt and someone died. Maybe that is fair punishment. But I think what they all came on X over the weekend is, and it's I was glued to it because the story just ran. And shawarma then had an offer today of 50% off, and like it just keeps running. They keep making videos and they keep putting people from their office on the videos, and they keep saying, thanks very much, Turkey, we don't want to go down now. We don't want to be cancelled.
We're sorry, guys.
Yeah, we're sorry, don't cancel us, because there is woke culture, there is cancellation culture, and they were boycotting this shawarma chain in Saudi over the weekend. spend. And he had to come in and save it and go, if we keep killing our brands, because next week it could be 500,000, next week it could be Juju's Coffees, next week it could be, we saw Bilabin. But if you keep killing your brands, are you telling me that McDonald's never had an incident in 100 years in all their stores? So I think Saudi, we need these brands to grow. Like we love these stories. We love the Bilabin story. We love the Salt story. We don't want them to die. We don't want these chains to die. Yes, there's regulation, and yes, food poisoning is horrible. But like there are many facets that go into that. I tell you what, you didn't get poisoned from a logo. You got poisoned from ingredients, and those ingredients came from a farm somewhere or whatever.
The ingredients can be replaced.
They can be replaced, but like it opens up many different stories around this. You know what? Saudi is really good at shutting places down. Like so many times things go viral, like that there's a notice on a door, and it's like, and even UAE, right? Like they do inspect these places a lot. Like
I know. I remember what's it called? There's this cafeteria. It's called Gaza. Have you gone there before? It's a really good cafeteria. Fazza always speaks about it. They even have like his image splatted on their door. But something that I love about it is they even have a notice that's like, we've been inspected by the health ministry here and we're good to go. And honestly, when I read that, I feel so safe going there. I think that this is why you need proper inspections. I think that with these restaurants, Rich, maybe it got so bad because they didn't actually get proper inspections.
Yeah, maybe they did, and still there was a mistake, and still there's an outbreak. I do, from what I see, the inspections are in place. But they treat this very seriously, and they obviously are punishing these brands and closing these stores.
Yeah, and I think this is why, like, when you take a look at the food scene in Saudi, Al Baik is such a clear winner here. And I think for me, with Al Baik, I'm not really a fan of fast food, but I got more attached to it when I actually found out the founder's story. So it's actually a Palestinian founder. It's this guy called Abu Ghazala. And essentially, I believe he moved to Saudi during the 1950s. He left Palestine during the Nakba in 1948. He's from Ramla. And he went to Saudi. He started working for Aramco for like 15 years, moved to Lebanon, put his money in the bank there, lost it because the bank went bankrupt. I'm not completely surprised. And then he came back and he partnered with this French company. And this French company basically helped him set up the equipment for the entire restaurant, and he launched it. And we're seeing how Al Baik is a complete success. Like, it's such a local success.
Where's the first one again? Was it Jeddah or Dammam?
I believe it was Jeddah, actually.
I think Jeddah, yeah.
And it's just such a complete success. And you know that the line that they have in Mall of the Emirates, it remains the same all day. Because I used to work there, and I'd go. People are standing in a line all day trying to get Al Baik. Maybe it's the affordable prices, or maybe it's just actually really good. But I think that when you see how Al Baik has had such a good run, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about it. I think it's telling you something.
Yeah.
It's telling you something about these other restaurants.
Yeah.
They need to get better. They need to get better. They need to get better at their quality control.
Yeah.
And for our final topic of the day, this one is about Arabs in the UK. It's a trend that we've been seeing a lot this summer. So the UAE engineering firm Sidara will acquire British oil services company John Wood Group for over $219 million, taking on a $1.6 billion of debt and injecting an additional $450 million to stabilize the company. And the deal is structured to strengthen Sidara's global presence and client base.
The acquisition offer is set at 30 pence per share, contingent on Wood publishing its delayed annual results by October 31st, 2025, and maintaining certain debt facilities. Earlier this year, Wood delayed results due to pending audit, leading to a temporary suspension of its shares on the London stock market.
So Sidara reduced its initial bid after the UK Financial Conduct Authority launched an investigation into some of Wood's contracts and charges. So the British firm also sold its North American transmission and distribution engineering business for $110 million to reduce debt, reflecting concerns over its liquidity and current capital structure.
Wood Group Chairman Roy Franklin said that the board believes Sidara's offer is the best option after reviewing all alternatives. He's quoted, "It is the unanimous view of the Wood board that this is the best option for all shareholders," Frankel stated, emphasizing the importance of financial stability and continuity for clients.
You know what it is with this story, Rich? It's like you always hear how Western media is like, oh, these royals, these Arabs, they're sports washing, it's all kinds of washing. They just pour in a lot of money into things. But then these Arabs and these royals, they're the same people who are saving these companies. It's like Wood is not the only example that we've seen. I believe like last week we reported on this story of this company called Paragraph in the UK, and they make these graphene chips. And essentially Mubadala came and invested in them and actually saved them from bankruptcy because for a good 6 months, the UK government was not allowing Mubadala to take a stake in them, and they needed that stake because they were losing all their cash, And so the fact that we're now seeing this happen with this company Wood, they have $1.6 billion in debt, and they need this UAE company, Sidara, to come in and to save them. I just think it's so interesting. It's like, is this a kind of, Rich, do you think that's like a good investment to make?
Well, I'm fascinated by the numbers. You're paying $300 million or so, $290 million, but you're taking on $1.6 billion in debt and putting in $450 billion. So, what's that? Like, if you add it up, it's almost $2.5 billion investment in terms of debt you're taking on, investment, and the actual purchase price as well. I think it sounds like it'll stay on the stock market. It sounds like they'll just purchase the company and run it like that. The founder of Sidara, I didn't know much about them, but obviously it was founded in Beirut originally. And it's just fascinating. I think it's really fascinating. I think, before, we talk a lot about startups in this region and investing in companies in the region. And we talk a lot about companies investing in London and things like that, but this is just a global look, isn't it? Like talking, again, we covered Africa a lot last week, and I just looked at the range of, from Abu Dhabi ports to DP World, how many ports the UAE has across Africa in all the different parts, both on the coastline, but also linked sort of hubs inland as well. There's just investment from the Arab world all over the world, both in areas that we're familiar with, like football clubs, and things that attract consumer attention, and big houses and things like that. But also, this is billed at the top of the story as oil services. I don't really know what that is or what Wood does, to be honest. Not going to lie, but obviously it's worth. It's an asset, a significant $2 billion asset all in. That they're buying because they see growth in it, and we're told that oil is not one to invest in when we see Aramco's share price. But if you're asking me, do I think it's a good investment or not? I would trust them. I would say they know what they're doing, and I think good governance and good investment, the right money in the right place, can have business turnaround stories.
And I think for me, it's like it's so funny to me because obviously we're seeing how so many billionaires and millionaires are leaving the UK. Just recently, weren't they called like the most miserable country in the world or something? And it's like it's the fact that you have all their billionaires leaving. You have what's it called, Fredrickson coming here. You have Nassif Suwaidi's moving his family office here. You have these footballers coming here. So the fact that they're coming here and then their companies are going bankrupt and they're losing cash in the UK, and you have these Arabs jumping in and still believing in the investment. I think that's so good. It's so promising. It's interesting to see how things have changed. The dynamic has changed.
Dynamic has changed. You're right. I mean, look, I think one's outlook, and it can be miserable to some people in the UK, and it can be brilliant for others, right? Like, and I don't think we need to sort of necessarily throw stones at other countries. We need to be a bit bullish about here because it needs energy. It needs, it needs commitment to growing sectors and to growing jobs and opportunities. But yeah, it works both ways. Like there will be, there will be companies that need new leadership in this region. We talked about the Majid Al Futtaim story with different governance. We've had our fair share of. We had NMC, that health company that was on the London Exchange that had offices near us here that had trouble. We talked a lot before uncovered on different stories about Arik Nafke's investment Abraj Group. So the stories, if we were doing a podcast in London, we could talk about companies in this part of the world that aren't run well, and we can say that about there. But I think the general point, you're right, is that it is impressive to see that a Lebanese-founded Sidara Group is getting a $2 billion asset in the London stock market in the oil sector. That's impressive. And a story over the weekend that has over 600 shares is that the UAE elite snap up prime London homes amidst price slumps. So the UAE elite are not just shopping in Harrods, they're shopping on the real estate market in London as well. So yeah, it does seem there is a shift. There is more FDI, outward investment, and these companies are being bought, and whenever there's a foreign dignitary coming in, MOUs are signed, and there's talks of $1 trillion investment, it does trickle down to deals like this.
Yes, it does. And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the Smashi Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashi Business and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashi Business Show, a Smashi Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our 2.3 million monthly listeners across all platforms. You make this possible. If you're one of them, we appreciate you.